going now on a quick preview of some of the inland gardens that you can visit on Sunday, May the 7th. So this is Nancy Niemeyer's garden. I love Nancy's garden, perhaps because I love history and so does she, obviously. She's passionate about both nature and archaeology, and these interests intertwined in the development of the garden that she designed and installed, which was modeled on ancient Roman gardens. This rectangular courtyard is planted with a riot of colorful natives. It leads past this beautiful statue of this woman with her flowing hair, this sculpture, and also this black and white patterned mosaic, which was designed and created by Nancy, was modeled after mosaics that would be found in Roman gardens thousands of years ago. This garden has a fountain and pedestals that both frame the garden beds and function as seats. Nancy's native plant garden, I expect, is one of the most colorful gardens you will ever see. It has changed over the years as she experiments with plants and design. Here's another view of her side garden. And this is a lilac verbena de la mina, butterflies and moths and bees, native ladybugs, finches and quail have been seen in the garden. Rock piles provide homes for fence and alligator lizards. And this is a bush tit nest in Nancy's garden. And Nancy notes that if you see summer birds in your garden, it means they are nesting nearby. And now that she has a native plant garden, she sees almost 3 times the number of summer bird species than she did when she had a large lawn. The birds that are breeding near Nancy's garden include western bluebirds, bush tits, chickadees, hummingbirds, nuthatches, black phoebes, quail, oak titmice, and Bewick's wrens. And this is the last photo from Nancy's beautiful garden in Clayton. This is the home of Kelly Marshall and her husband, Mike Weidner. Kelly is owner of Kelly Marshall Garden Design, a longtime friend and colleague of mine. When the lawns were removed, Kelly's goal was to design a mostly native garden that would be attractive and interesting each season, and that would also be acceptable to the neighbors. This is the backyard. It had the typical large lawn. This after photo was taken on last year's tour. Natives, they also have a productive vegetable garden in raised beds. Kelly, in place of the lawn, put in this beautiful native plant meadow. And if you're interested in meadows, Kelly made a video, which is on the Bringing Back the Native Garden Tours YouTube channel, about how to make a native plant meadow. She has this beautiful, restful seating area in the back garden. Doesn't that look luscious? Don't you wish you were there right now? I certainly do. And Kelly has this beautiful shallow pond, or bog, really. 40 species of birds and a plethora of butterflies and bees have been drawn to this garden by the sound of splashing water, the bog, and the diversity of native seed, berry, and pollen-bearing plants. And bluebirds nested in the garden after the lawn was removed and natives were planted. This was their bluebird box with their viewing cam. And these photos were taken in Kelly's garden. So on the left are variable checker spot caterpillars on the California bee plant, and on the right is the newly hatched checker spot butterfly. I scout my patches of bee plant regularly these days, searching for these caterpillars, and I'm sad that I haven't seen them in my own garden. Like my desire is to be able to see caterpillars chewing on my bee plant leaves. I will feel like I have really succeeded if that happens for me. This is a monarch caterpillar on the narrow leaf milkweed in Kelly's garden. This is the only plant milkweed is the only plant the monarch can lay its eggs on. If you don't yet have narrow leaf milkweed in your garden and you have a sunny spot, you can help this endangered butterfly out by getting some and not using pesticides. This is Dan and Lisa Winke's garden in Concord, open on Sunday, May the 7th. This garden was designed by Kelly Marshall. Both the front and back gardens contain a waterfall, stream, and shallow pond, which birds love to bathe in, and Dan and Lisa love to relax by. This front garden was a typical, huge front lawn before it was converted. It's on a corner lot. This Douglas Iris photo was featured on some magazine. I can't remember which magazine it was recently, but this is Saxon Holt's photo, and this Douglas Iris were on the cover of that magazine. Dan and Lisa's garden, which contains numerous keystone species, such as 3 types of manzanita, 3 kinds of buckwheats, 3 kinds of sages, and California lilac, lupins, currants, and penstemon. In this photo on the left are seaside daisy in the foreground, the lavender one. The orange is aquatic monkey flower blooming in the pond, penstemon. On the right is a native bee on lupin. I'm pushing on quickly because I want to make up a little more time now. So this is Maria Sargent's garden in Danville, which has also been on the tour in the past. It's open Sunday, May 7th. This garden was designed and installed by Pete Vu of East Bay Wilds. It was also a lawn and juniper before it was converted. This is just a beautiful garden. Okay, so the Maria Sargent's garden has this beautiful hummingbird sage, which flourishes in shady areas. This tumbled stone path and alum root on the right. Pete is really good at pathways. This mourning dove, Maria has seen nearly 20 species of birds in her garden, including oak titmice. So Richard, you might want to mute yourself there, or Pete. Black-headed grosbeaks, nettles and acorn woodpeckers, northern flickers and hooded orioles. But Maria reports that the party starts at night when fox visit the garden. During the tour, you can check out the photos of nighttime visitors that Maria will have on display. We'll go on now to Stephanie Jones and John Kundert's Livermore Garden. This was designed by Kat Weiss of Kat Weiss Garden Design. And Stephanie and John installed this garden, and they have this great poster board describing how they did it by collecting cardboard, getting free wood chips from an arborist, and then they sheet mulched, graded, laid the flagstone, built these sinuous, dry stacked Utah sunrise retaining walls, installed drip irrigation, and planted. So if you're interested in knowing like how to do these things yourself, you should come to this Livermore Garden and ask the owners. The result is a show-stopping, elegant, spare, and modern garden. Their water use has been reduced by 60 to 70% since the lawn was removed. And this is comparing 2016 and 2013, but Stephanie said she's going to update her water use before the tour. The decomposed granite is gives the garden this spare, elegant look, which is very different from the cottage garden style that so many native gardens have, including my own. And I love the cottage style, but I love all this one too. It's very elegant and beautiful. There are varying shades of greens, 5 types of manzanitas, 2 kinds of California lilac, and the softer gray greens of the sages and fuchsias. And on the left is rosy buckwheat. On the right is Verbena de la Mina. I missed a photo here. Yeah, here it is. So this semicircular fire pit was incorporated into the front garden to make it easier for them to interact with their neighbors. And Stephanie and John report that they have shared homemade wine at impromptu gatherings because they have this nice gathering spot in their front garden. 2 great backbone plants for your garden, California lilac, and on the right is manzanita. And I love this garden bed with the California native fuchsia that blooms in summer or early fall. On the green home front, Stephanie and John have a 7-kilowatt solar panel system. They also have a Tesla, which Stephanie reports we love. Their total PG&E bill last year, and this included the cost of charging their car, was $290. This is Ann Chambers and Ed McAlpin's garden in Moraga. And Ann and Ed, who have attended the tour since its inception in 2005, hired 4 Dimensions Landscape Company to design and install this peaceful and productive garden. In the backyard, there was a swimming pool, lawn and Monterey pines were removed, more space for growing edibles was created, and the balance of the garden was planted with mostly local native plants. So let me say that I love this story about Ann and Ed. When they were listening to the Doug Tallamy talk a couple of years ago and heard about how non-native plants don't have any ecological value, Ed asked Ann, "What's agapanthus?" And she looked it up and said, "It's from South Africa." And Ed got up in the middle of Doug Tallamy's talk and he ripped the agapanthus out of their front yard. So here's a picture of their front yard now. In a cooler moment, they have, taken out more non-natives. Here's their back garden. It has a pond and a waterfall and beautiful stonework. And Anne and Ed have a beautiful array of native plants, but they also have 30 varieties of fruit trees, including Violette de Bordeaux fig, Lamb, Abbey, Pearmain, and Spitzenberg apples, and Seckel and Comus pears, among others. So if you're interested in fruit tree gardening, you might want to make a visit here. They have beautiful seating areas, and it's really a place to enjoy this garden. And on the green home front, Ann and Ed have Tesla roof solar tiles, 2 lithium Tesla Powerwall batteries, and an induction range. You're welcome to go into the house and check out the range. And they have been investigating getting a heat pump. I'm not sure when that will be installed, but I know it's on their list of things to do, a heat pump for heating and cooling the house. We're delighted that a locally produced climate-friendly cookbook has recently been published, and you can purchase it at Ann and Ed's Garden. You'll be welcome to come into the kitchen and see how the induction range works and enjoy a taste of some of the delicious recipes from this cookbook. This is Nancy Weininger's garden in Walnut Creek. This was from a poster that she made some time ago. And I see I don't have any photos, but Nancy has seen about 90 species of birds in her beautiful Walnut Creek garden. We're very lucky to have Nancy's garden back on the tour again this coming year, and I hope that you can visit it.